Hi, everybody. Welcome to PTZOptics Live.
Happy Friday. We hope you've all had a wonderful week.
So excited to be talking today about how to live stream church worship services to local senior living centers, a trend that we've been seeing throughout the country and the world. It has to do with demographics. It has to do with a lot of awesome things that we're going to dig into today. So if you are working with a church or house of worship, this is the show for you, because we're going to be able to help you extend the message of God, the message of your church service to so many people who may have been members of your church, but have simply, moved to a retirement home or facility away from your community, or maybe just simply can't make it to church every Sunday,
And
right?
there's some unique ways to accomplish this, correct?
That's right. We're going to talk about 4 different ways to accomplish this. So all of this and more is going to be coming up next.
All right. First off, I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who participated in our Worship Summit Live. It was wildly successful, and we just appreciate all of the viewers, the physical attendees, and of course, the speakers. We will be distributing those segmented speeches shortly, so stay tuned for that.
That's right. If you made it, you can go to worshipsummit.live. If you missed that shot, it was so much fun, and we did it right here in our studio. It couldn't have been more fun, and we're going to tell you a little bit about the Worship Summit and the ways that you can connect your church to senior living centers with live streaming. All right. So we have some squares, don't we, Michael? All right. So first of all, go ahead, Tess. Okay, I'll start. We have the Worship Summit Live. You may have missed this. Take a look at it. Worshipsummit.live. Amazing speakers, 8 awesome speakers in the church production industry that you can learn from.
We'll be sending you via email those, that's what I meant to say earlier, those speeches. Also, we're going to be talking today about our updated church course, which is coming up soon. That will be updated with the Worship Summit Live speeches. So we'll have some great content there, some of the presentations from the speakers as well, and that will be available shortly. We're working on it because I know we've been getting a lot of requests for that.
Yeah, we're doing those one at a time. Today, we're talking about live streaming church services to senior communities, and we're so excited to be talking about a local case study, a Presbyterian church here, live streaming to a local senior living center. So very excited about that.
There's a number of different ways that you're able to achieve this. One of the items that we're going to be talking about today is using cable TV systems. So we're not necessarily talking about just streaming to social media, but perhaps even cable TV providers.
Yes, and that actually refers to cable TV distribution systems that a lot of retirement homes have in place. We'll also be talking about using social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, things like that. That is one way to reach folks in a senior living center, assuming that they have good internet access and access to YouTube or Facebook. Some of the other ways will be even easier, and we'll talk about literally just having a channel on television in their cable distribution TV system and using even more modern techniques.
I'm going to be looking forward to learning about this next one. I believe it's IP. Oh, that is not the right square. Whoopsies. But I do remember it anyways. It was IPTV is one of the distribution models. Is that how we're going to describe it?
Let's get into the presentation because I've got a lot of great information to show there. Okay, so live streaming church services to senior living centers. We're going to start with a great case study that is going to kind of explain what a church in our local area is doing. And that is the Westminster Presbyterian Church in Westchester. They're live streaming their traditional Sunday morning services to local retirement community Marist Grove. And this is an image from the Presbyterian mission. And that is Reverend Donald Lincoln from Westchester, right in the town that we are. And we're going to talk about 4 ways to do this and how they're doing it in Marist Grove. So one is you can get everybody together in the retirement living area and set up a projector in an auditorium and get everybody together and watch
There's
the live
often
stream.
areas in assisted living centers and senior living communities where you can congregate and do different activities. So that's what we're looking at.
And in order to do that, you can simply just live stream to YouTube or Facebook, bring that up on the projector, and everyone can watch it. And that is the way that they're doing it here at the Westminster Presbyterian Church. So that is there's a lot of great reasons
easy,
why
right?
you should do that. You could be live streaming to YouTube. You're bringing one YouTube stream down to your local area, and it's a great way to do it. But there's 3 more that you should really think about. One is cable TV distribution systems via coax cabling. A lot of places already have these systems in place.
What does this really mean?
So it's not like getting on cable TV and having nationwide distribution.
Okay.
It's as if basically these facilities, everyone's got a TV, right? And there's cable television being pumped to all of those TVs.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, you can insert your own channel with a device called a modulator.
With just within that community?
Yeah. And so, like, for example, like during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, let's say there's no service going on, you could just be showing PowerPoint presentations and slides saying, hey, this is what we have going on here, here, and here. And then when Sunday, so that channel's always on. And then
White
on
Horse
Sunday,
had, I remember they had like the menu for that evening and things like that.
So-
Okay, that makes sense.
So some of these facilities have that already in place. Most of them already have that. So we'll talk about how to use that, how to insert and how to approach retirement facilities and say, hey, we'd like to add our channel to that. The most advanced systems are IPTV systems that use a local media server. So we'll talk about how to do that. And then we'll talk about a really interesting new way to reach anywhere with an internet connection and deliver them a channel via an RTMP decoder using the cloud. So I am a huge fan of local displays in this auditorium style presentation because it really gives the best community experience. It's very much like a satellite church campus, if you will. And here you can see the residents of Marist Grove retirement community in our local Westchester, Pennsylvania area. And Westminster Presbyterian Church live streams every Sunday. And the residents here are in the theater where they're watching the service. And they basically do this before moving into the chapel. So there's a chapel actually in the retirement home, and it's just a really great experience. This is the Westminster Presbyterian Church. It's a great church service. They always were
Quite
live
busy.
streaming it anyway. It's very busy. And they already live stream it, YouTube, Facebook. So adding it to the auditorium in the retirement facility was just made a lot of sense.
And it's just really extending your reach.
It totally reestablishes the reach. And you can see here that you can really build a community just like you have in your church and maintain some of the important ceremonies and traditions, just like you would in a satellite campus. Here they are collecting donations for the church from the retirement facility here. And they're providing communion and taking offerings. And it's just a beautiful, almost satellite church from the main church. And many of these members of the senior center were members of the church, but now it's just a little bit too much for them to get out to the church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So it really makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to talk about building a community just like you have in church. And one way to do this is that you can simply, without even having to get an auditorium and a projector and all of that, as long as you're live streaming to Facebook or YouTube, and you've got somebody who can help explain to some of maybe these elderly folk how to use Facebook and YouTube with their iPad, their smartphone, their tablet, their computer. If they've got Wi-Fi internet access, they can generally watch the live stream.
Perfect.
So it's great, but it doesn't really have that community feel that you get with a theater or a chapel.
Perhaps beyond just the community that you have within your living.
But let's not forget,
Community.
many elderly folks are bedridden and cannot leave their room, and we want to be able to reach them. So cable TV distribution system is a great way to bring the church service directly into their television without the need for Wi-Fi, without the need for internet access in the room. And we're going to show how this works and why. And these systems are very easy to use because they're generally already installed. So there's typically this like head-end distribution system. So all of the televisions that receive cable TV from this distribution system are already connected via coax cable. You might be too young to remember this, Tess, but I know Michael and I remember all the televisions are plugged in with this cable that like screws on and it brings the cable TV, and then you just use your remote control to flip through the channels. So that one cable has lots of channels on it, and modulators are used to do that, to modulate the waveforms. And that's why they're called modulators. And these systems can be live streaming your church service, but like I said, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they could also be showing things about the church via pre-rolled like PowerPoint presentations, for example. So how does this work? So we can plug a computer or a decoder or a digital signage systems into the modulator. And the modulator inputs
Sounds like Back to the Future.
System. In the modulator, what it does is it brings the video and audio into the cable distribution system, and then all the televisions are connected via coax. So that's
Coaxial cable.
Yes,
That's
coaxial cable.
Okay.
So that is how it works. It's actually that simple. So you can utilize the modulator to turn any HDMI video signal. So you could even play movies, right? You could play PowerPoint presentations from your laptop. A lot of retirement facilities will have like a computer like this plugged into the modulator, and then they'll have like log me in on this computer, so they don't have to actually go to the computer to change the PowerPoints or change the content. You just log into it
or to play whatever it
remotely.
is.
And then maybe you just go to YouTube and play the video, and then it switches to the YouTube video. So the HDMI feed could be PC, a decoder, and if you want to offer multiple channels, you can actually put multiple modulators in place or a multi-channel modulator. Now, the next system would be an IPTV system or a local media server. And this could be either local, on-site, or it could be actually in the cloud. And we'll talk about that as well. But generally, there's like this would be for more modern retirement facilities, which, by the way, they're building everywhere all the time. This is IPTV. Now, the thing about IPTV is that it's way more flexible than cable television. Like with cable television, you have cable TV, and there's like 50 channels or whatever, and they watch that, and they're used to it, they're comfortable with it, and then they say, okay, channel 4 is my church service, and then they just go to channel 4, right? But with IPTV, from a management perspective, you have a lot more control over these IPTV decoder boxes. For example, you might say, all right, everyone in the west wing of the retirement facility, we want to send them all a message that overrides whatever they're watching, that it's dinner time. So a lot of the more modern facilities actually have IPTV systems because they give the control to the manager a lot better. And it's a lot actually less expensive than deploying a coax system at this point as well.
So you're able to even divide up the messages that's being sent within, say, a retirement living community.
Yes.
It's not just, doesn't have to be just a single feed or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, with coax, you can deliver lots of different channels over a single coax cable. With IP Ethernet technology, you can do the same, but because it's digital and it's IP based, you can like literally have control over it. So if there was a tornado storm and they're like, we need to get everyone out of here, they can do an alert. They can just take over. Doesn't matter what channel they're on. Boom, take over everything, do an instant message alert.
Interesting.
Right? Or they could say, you know, they just get a lot more control over everything. So IPTV is super awesome. It's almost the exact same type of layout. So you take your computer, instead of a modulator, you're using an encoder, and you encode that video feed, plug it into Ethernet. That Ethernet connects to your IPTV system over your network. And then instead of connecting directly to the coax of the television, which I'm not going to lie, I don't think a lot of TVs even have coax anymore. I think
your cable box does.
Your cable box does. You're right. It does. The cable box. Okay. So usually there's a cable box anyway, but some TVs have the coax directly into them.
Okay.
But anyway.
Before cable boxes.
Before cable boxes that would go right to. Now there's cable boxes.
Tube
anyway,
TVs.
There would be an IPTV decoder box that would be connected before the TV. And that is controllable by the management software, like we mentioned, so that you could send a message to everybody. You could send a message just to the first floor. You could send a message just to Tom Sinclair, you know, if he was in one of these rooms, whatever. You know,
he's going to say, hey, I'm not there yet.
I don't even know what a cable box is. What is a cable box anymore? So these media servers can be used to ingest a YouTube stream that can enable distribution for outside the local area network. If multicast capabilities are available, you can save tons of bandwidth. We're not going to go into too much depth, but here's the final one. I really like this solution, And again, there's going to be more information on our blog and our website. If you go to ptzoptics.com/blog. But end users have the ability to have an RTMP decoder. And this is something I think a lot of churches are going to learn how to do and leverage, because what this allows you to do is you can have this box could just be set up to receive the church's stream. Okay, so the church has a Wowza as a perfect example of this. Wowza is an RTMP streamer. So let's say the church streams to, can I go to the whiteboard real quick, Michael? I think this would be a perfect whiteboard scenario. But this would give us the ability to stream directly. So this would be an input into your television. So I'm gonna go over to the whiteboard and explain this. So for example, let's say your TV here has multiple inputs, and one input is your cable, right? Cable TV. A lot of people have that. Now, we were talking about tapping into the cable TV by sending a modulator, modulated channel into that, so you could be inside of that. But what would be almost even better for a lot of churches is to have their own dedicated decoder, an RTMP decoder. And I'm going to explain what this does. So what this would allow you to do is basically the end user could just switch the input of their television. We all know how to do that, right? You switch, there may be one of them's a DVD player, right? Of the inputs into the TV. This would be an input into the TV. It was an RTMP decoder. And the way that works is in the cloud. This is the cloud or the internet. The church is over here, right? So here's the church. They stream to the cloud, and the RTMP delivers to as many people as necessary, right? And they all have these boxes. So as soon as you switch to that input on your television, you are getting the church's stream. So that church's stream could be a digital signage application where it's talking about things that are happening, how people can be more involved, what they're asking for donations for. And then, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's X programming. And then on Thursday night, there's a special live interactive, thing with XYZ. And then on Sunday, there's obviously the church service. So this is like whenever this input is open, you are getting the streams directly from the church. So it's like a dedicated channel directly into a specific input into your television. So just to wrap up, we've talked about cable TV, getting into the cable TV system. We've talked about RTMP decoder, right? That direct input. The other thing too is if it is a smart TV, this is kind of like the new thing. I'm not actually a huge fan of it because it's hard to use, at least in this scenario, for someone who's a little older who's not used to smart TVs. But technically, generally, a smart TV, like the smart applications inside of it is its own input, if you will. So like the cable TV is a different input. That's a different input. DVD player is a different input. The apps on the smart TV are a different input. And some of those apps might be YouTube and Facebook. And if the, senior that is living in this area is savvy enough, they can go in and open up YouTube or Facebook and access the church's stream that way. That's probably the easiest way because most churches are already streaming to YouTube and Facebook. But I'd say the easiest way for the end user is to not even have to switch an input. They always watch cable television, just go to channel, 12, and that is known to be the church's stream. So I know we went over a lot there. Just wanted to review it though with you guys. So that brings us to basically streaming your services over the public area network. It's just a great way to do it. Your church's live stream goes to the internet down to the desktop set-top box. Very simple. This is the way it works. You can get this presentation from our blog if you're interested in that. And then Tess, did you want to throw in this quick tip about checking into your church?
Sure. This is one that we actually learned from Mr. Tom Sinclair that we always think is kind of a bright one to share with you guys. If you are a pastor or a speaker at your house of worship, consider at the beginning of the service inviting your community to check into the house of worship, specifically while watching the stream. So it lets other people in your local area community know where you are, and so they might be attracted to your church's stream as well.
So I want to answer a couple questions since we are live, and then we're going to go to our podcast
the giveaway
as well.
too.
And we have a live giveaway, so make sure you're watching for that as well. So Jeremy is here, the Wirecast sales ninja, and he said, I believe their cams already have RTMP. They'll be streaming their chapel to each room. Community is so important. So Christopher Kywell really likes the auditorium idea.
We got a question about latency on Twitch.
On Twitch.
They said, what about latency? And let me see if, I think it was Chad.
Awesome.
The streams would be a few seconds behind, which for most things is fine. NDI decoders. So I'm not sure which platform or method he was referring to.
Here's one here. We have a local senior community right here in front of our church in Brazil, and they never thought of live streaming their services there. So
you'll have to tell them.
Think about it. You know, this is something that's definitely happening right in our brand new neighborhood. People have been talking about latency. Yes, RTMP latency is high, but you know, to be completely honest, a little bit of latency is not going to be an issue in this scenario. Latency is
not
really
an overflow
important.
space or anything like that.
It's really important when like you're projecting to a projector in the church service where it's happening. That's important. But like if you're in a totally different area, you have no idea if it's 60 seconds late. Who cares?
Just like radio. What is there? 7 seconds.
There's 7 seconds of latency and no one knows or cares.
Right.
Most still have coax saying conference and
most
lots
TVs,
of leftover digital air signal content that you can get through antennas. And it's true. That's why we really wanted to cover the coax side of things, because you know what? You might not even need to buy a modulator. There might be an HDMI input just waiting for you to tap into on channel whatever, or something that's just, you know, not even being used, and you can just pump your church service into there. That's why it's such an important reason for you to reach out to your local senior center and ask them if they'd like to receive a stream from your church. And it also opens up the thought, and we'll talk about this more in the podcast, of why your church may be wanting to stream 24/7. Might sound crazy, but what you're really doing is just streaming something that has, you know, the PowerPoint presentations, the up-to-date things that's going on in your church. And then think about the retirement homes, the different places out there that can tap into that single feed there and redistribute it over coax. You're not going to get more viewers on YouTube, but at the same time, that one viewer, right, that one computer that's being distributed through coax to the distribution could be reaching hundreds of seniors in their center. And there's many other applications as well, so it's not a bad idea to think about. Does that cover our questions? Should we go to the podcast?
I think we'll do the giveaway really quick, and then we will go to the podcast.
Jeremy, really quickly, is actually working with the Senior Living Center to build a multi-campus system, and they're putting in a Wirecast Gear 420. Those are such great systems for this. Those systems have outputs that can be used with a lot of different ways, maybe an NDI decoder to bring it into an IPTV system or a coax system like we talked about. So we'll mention that in the podcast as well.
All right. I don't have access to Gleam.
Oh, we got to do our winner real quick.
Yes.
All right, let's do our winner for our giveaway. We're going to pull 3 winners.
What time did you have it end?
That's a good question.
I guess we can look at it.
It
ended a little early.
Like a little tiny bit early.
All right. Sorry about that if you got the email. Normally we extend it.
No, it was open into the show.
It was open into the show. Okay, good.
Minutes ago.
Okay.
All right. Clifford Fall.
Clifford
Burbank, California. I'm going to go ahead and pop him into the chat. Brandon Koff uses a modulator and coax system for broadcasting into every room in your church. Wow, that's awesome. So we're going to pull 3 winners. Let us know you're here in the chat so we know you're here. We're going to pick 3 winners. You have to be live in the chat in order to claim the prize. And if you're not here, we're just going to go ahead.
We're spinning the wheel today.
And spin the wheel. All right, Jared Grover. If you're here, Jared, say hi. Say hi in the chat. Let us know you're here, guys, because we're going to pull a couple winners here.
I'll be monitoring to see if you claim your prize.
Cameron hadn't thought much about this. It's huge.
Great.
You would not believe how many new senior centers are being built every day. It's a demographics thing, right? Like there were the baby boomers, and then there were the parents of the baby boomers, and we've got a huge shift right now in many cultures, not just the United States, where we've got an aging population. And it's not a major concern, but, you know, hey, look, at least you're doing your part to help bring children into the world.
Yes, likewise.
Yep. I don't know if you guys, everyone remembered, but it's actually probably a clear time to say Tess is pregnant.
Yes, they should know this by now. We made our
So-
exciting announcement a few weeks ago.
Tess is pregnant. She's helping
not
repopulate
just
our
fat.
country and the world. But
Repopulate as
yeah,
if
because there is an aging population going on here.
there's a shortage of humans.
Not necessarily a shortage of humans. There are other countries in this world that are definitely helping populate.
Well, either
us up.
way, we're very happy.
Everyone's happy.
can
Mark
always,
Royce is here. Stafford Short's here.
demand.
Ricky Simpson.
All right, keep pulling them.
All right, Ricky
Who
Simpson.
do we have next?
Is
Ricky Simpson. Ricky, are you here?
Let us know. I'm gonna pull a couple more, but we already said we're not gonna be pulling forever here. We got to get to our podcast, and I got to go pick up my son.
Wrong babe.
So I'm gonna pull 2 more, and that's it. Because, all right, Dave McCluster. Okay, and I'm gonna pull one more. If not here, we're going to the podcast room.
Somebody be here.
Talk about this interesting topic. Thank you, Matt Davis, for giving us most of the information here.
You're honest.
All right.
That's good.
Did somebody win?
No, we are live.
Jared Grover,
Oh.
Clifford Saul.
Who's saying
Lloyd
congrats?
Henry.
Oh,
Oh, they're saying
thanks.
congrats to me being pregnant. Yeah.
We already forgot about that.
Oh, Gary Callum's here. Okay.
I know every time
Ryan
someone says I'm
Johnson.
here, I'm like, wait.
All right,
Is
I'm
that-
going to pull one more because I really want to get somebody, but we got to go to the podcast. I got to pick up my son before 3. So we got to roll.
Okay.
One more. Donald Oliver from South Carolina. All right, we got to go to the podcasting room. All right.
All right, guys.
We'll see you guys in just a minute.
At least we'll be able to give it a minute and if somebody chimes in. Okay, here I go.